Part 1. The Death of a Ghost. The chopper blades are deafening. They chop the thin mountain air, sending violent vibrations through the cold metal stretcher you are strapped to. You are bleeding out. Multiple heavy-caliber gunshot wounds tear through your torso. The blood is soaking into your dark clothes, pooling on the metal beneath you. Your vision is blurring, fading into dark, jagged edges. It is February 22nd, 2026. Morning. Through the small window of the military helicopter, the mountains outside Tapalpa, Jalisco, stretch endlessly below you. Dense. Green. Loyal. That is your territory. That is your fortress. But you are no longer the king of it. You are a prisoner. You are Nemesio Rubén Oseguera Cervantes. El Mencho. The most wanted man in the entirety of Mexico. A man with a $15 million bounty resting heavy on his head. A man who engineered, built, and ruthlessly commanded one of the most terrifyingly powerful criminal organizations on planet Earth. For years, you were a rumor. A dark, whispered myth. You were a ghost who ruled an empire. You gave no interviews. You made 0 public appearances. You left behind only fragments for the authorities to chase. Blurry photographs. Intercepted, static-filled phone calls. And bodies. Thousands of bodies left behind as public messages. But right now, in this freezing helicopter, you are not a myth. You are flesh and bone. You are real. And you are dying. 40 minutes earlier, Mexican special forces surrounded your compound, hidden deep in CJNG territory. This wasn't a standard raid. It was surgical. The soldiers moved with terrifying speed. They knew a single second of hesitation meant their absolute, brutal death. Your security forces fought back the exact second the perimeter was breached. Automatic gunfire echoed violently through the steep mountain walls. Rockets fired. Rifles cracked. The chaos of a decade-long manhunt compressed into 3 minutes of pure hell. 4 of your most loyal men died exactly where they stood. The dirt soaked up their blood. Others dropped their weapons and surrendered to the state. You took a hit. Then another. But you were alive. They dragged you out, bleeding, gasping, but fully conscious. Their mission was explicitly clear: capture you breathing. Transfer you to a pristine cell in Mexico City. Parade you in front of the cameras. Break the untouchable myth of El Mencho. But somewhere between your mountain fortress and the hospital, your body gives out. At 59 years old, after 3 decades of building an empire of pure violence, you die strapped down inside a military helicopter. And within hours of your final breath, Mexico begins to burn. Your cartel gunmen block the major highways with massive, burning semi-trucks across multiple states. Guadalajara goes completely, terrifyingly silent. Public transportation violently shuts down. Schools bolt their doors. Terrified tourists hide inside international airports. Prison riots erupt in a wave of coordinated bloodlust. Black smoke rises into the sky as entire, sprawling cities freeze in place. The U.S. Embassy issues emergency warnings for Americans to shelter in place immediately. 1 man stopped breathing. And an entire nation holds its breath. Because men like you don't just lead organizations. You become the dark center of gravity. They remove you, and everything immediately destabilizes. But you were not born with this terrifying, world-bending power. You were born with nothing. Part 2. Dirt and Avocados. July 17th, 1966. Tierra Caliente, Michoacán. Hot country. The name isn't poetic. It is entirely literal. The heat here is relentless, baking the moisture out of the earth and the people. The land is unforgiving. Your family grows avocados, but not for profit. You grow them for daily survival. You are one of 6 brothers. The work is endless, bone-crushing, and pays almost nothing. There is no safety net beneath you. If the crop fails, you starve. It is that simple. In this world, school is a luxury. Survival is mandatory. You drop out of school in the 5th grade. Your childhood ends right there. By the time you are 14 years old, you aren't studying mathematics. You aren't playing games in the street. You aren't planning a bright future. You are standing in the sweltering heat, holding a gun, guarding massive fields of illegal marijuana. You don't do this because you have some grand, sinister ambition to be a kingpin. You do it because that is the only job available. In Tierra Caliente, the drug trade isn't a secret hidden in the shadows. It is the entire local economy. It pays better than farming avocados. It pays better than anything else a poor kid with a 5th grade education could ever hope to find. You didn't choose this brutal system. You were born trapped inside it. But even then, standing in the dirt, you are observant. You understand something fundamentally important. The real money isn't here in the dust of Mexico. The real money is across the northern border. So in the 1980s, still just a teenager, you make your move. You cross illegally into the United States, California, the San Francisco Bay Area. You arrive with absolutely nothing. No legal identity, no protection, no predictable future beyond whatever you can improvise on the streets. You use fake names to survive. Ruben Avila, Jose Lopez Prieto, Miguel Valadez. Each identity is temporary, disposable. You move constantly between cash jobs and aliases, staying one desperate step ahead of the authorities, always one bad day away from disappearing entirely. But the paranoia catches up to you. In 1986, the San Francisco police arrest you for receiving stolen property. They search you. They find you are carrying a loaded firearm. You are 19 years old, already armed, already completely outside the legal system. 2 months after your arrest, your very first child is born. The heavy weight of responsibility doesn't stabilize you. It doesn't make you walk the straight and narrow. It does the exact opposite. It makes survival urgent. It makes the need for cash immediate. You keep crossing borders. You keep changing names. You keep operating in the dark margins of society. By 1989, you are arrested again. But this time, it isn't for stolen property. This time it is for selling narcotics. You aren't just guarding plants in a field anymore. You have crossed the line completely. You are dealer. Part 3. The Imperial Bar. Then comes September 1992. A dimly lit San Francisco bar called the Imperial. You and your older brother Abraham walk into the bar to sell heroin. 5 ounces. The price is $9,500. Abraham steps up to handle the exchange. You stand back. You watch. And immediately, the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. Something feels deeply wrong. The buyers are too calm. The questions they ask are too specific. The money on the table is too perfectly clean. You sense it in your gut. These aren't junkies. These are undercover police officers. You try to warn your brother subtly, shifting your weight, making eye contact, knowing the men across the table are likely wired with microphones. But the momentum of the deal is too fast. It's too late. 3 weeks later, the trap snaps shut. Both you and Abraham are arrested. You are facing serious, heavy federal drug charges. The prosecutor corners you, and you have to make a brutal decision. If both of you fight the charges and go to trial, Abraham, who already has previous felony convictions, could easily face life in a federal penitentiary. So you do the only thing a loyal brother can do. You fall on the sword. You take the plea deal. You take 5 years in a federal cage. You permanently sacrifice your future in America to save your brother's life. They send you to the Big Spring Correctional Center in Texas. People think prison rehabilitates you. It doesn't. Prison reorganizes you. Behind those high walls and razor wire, you don't learn how to be a better citizen. You learn deep criminal hierarchy. You learn how illicit systems operate. You sit with older cartel men and you learn how real, unadulterated power works. You serve 3 brutal years of your sentence before you are paroled, chained to a bus, and deported. At 30 years old, you are dumped back into Mexico. You have nothing. No money. No prospects. No legal path forward. America is a closed door forever. You failed to escape the poverty you were born into. Men like you usually disappear into the slums right here. They drink themselves to death or get shot over a few pesos. Instead, you do something so counterintuitive, it is almost impossible to understand. You join the police force. Part 4. The corporate merger. You don't join the federals. You join the municipal forces in small, quiet towns across Jalisco. Cabo Corrientes. Tomatlan. These are poor places. Places where a police uniform doesn't mean you have power. It means you have proximity. It means you have access. Nobody knows exactly why you joined. Maybe it was just a paycheck for survival. Maybe it was a calculated strategy from the start. Because being inside the police gives you the ultimate criminal insight. You learn exactly how raids are planned. You learn how police investigations actually work. You see how information flows from informants to detectives. You map out exactly where the blind spots are. And most importantly, you learn exactly where the corruption lives and what it costs to buy it. You don't stay a cop for long. You take off the badge, and you enter organized crime full-time. Not as a boss. Not yet. You enter as a foot soldier. You join the Milenio Cartel, run by the highly disciplined Valencia family. They aren't street thugs. They are structured, connected, corporate. And you understand immediately that true power in this terrifying world doesn't just come from the barrel of a gun. It comes from relationships. So you make the most brilliant, strategic decision of your entire life. You marry Rosalinda Gonzalez Valencia, the sister of one of the cartel's key leaders. It isn't a romance. It is an alignment. A corporate merger of blood. Overnight, you aren't just a recruit anymore. You are family. Marriage gives you absolute legitimacy. It gives you protection. It grants you access to the innermost circle of the cartel. You are promoted. You become the head of a highly trained squad of assassins. Your job is simple: protect the leadership, eliminate rival threats, and enforce brutal discipline. Extreme violence becomes your native language. And you speak it perfectly. Part 5. Building the machine. But cartels are fragile, paranoid ecosystems. In 2003, the Milenio cartel's leader is arrested. The organization weakens. Rivals smell blood in the water. The vicious Zetas cartel moves in, slaughtering everyone in their path. The Valencia family is forced to flee to Jalisco. But you don't collapse with them. You adapt. In Guadalajara, your cartel forms a massive alliance with the Sinaloa cartel, one of the most powerful and sophisticated criminal networks in human history. Through a Sinaloa leader named Nacho Coronel, you learn the real structure of global trafficking. You step back from the assassinations and you learn logistics. You learn global supply chains. You learn massive-scale money laundering. You learn how to move tons of product across oceans. You aren't just killing anymore. You are learning how empires operate. Then, between 2009 and 2010, the roof caves in. Leaders are arrested. Nacho Coronel is gunned down in a massive shootout with the Mexican army. Within months, the entire leadership structure above you simply disappears. The Milenio cartel fractures. It splits into two warring factions. One side backs a rival boss. The other side backs you. What follows isn't a negotiation. It is an all-out street war. You move fast. You are ruthless, decisive, and highly strategic. You hunt down your rivals one by one. You consolidate loyalty through cash and terror. And from the burning ruins of the Milenio cartel, you forge something entirely new. The Jalisco New Generation Cartel. The CJNG. You didn't inherit this power. You built it. From scratch. And what you build over the next decade shocks the entire world. CJNG doesn't behave like traditional, sloppy cartels. Your men behave like a highly trained, privately funded military force. They are coordinated. They are heavily armored. They are terrifyingly aggressive. In May 2015, the Mexican government launches an operation targeting you specifically. You respond with a level of force the state has never seen. Your fighters simultaneously block major roads across multiple cities with burning buses. They ambush military convoys. And then, they do something nobody thought a cartel was capable of doing. Using rocket-propelled grenades, your men shoot a Mexican military helicopter entirely out of the sky. 3 soldiers burn to death in the wreckage. It isn't just violence. It is a terrifying message to the president. We can fight the state. And we can win. Your cartel expands at lightning speed. Methamphetamine, cocaine, heroin, and then, the game changer, industrial-scale fentanyl. You control the massive shipping ports, importing precursor chemicals directly from Asia. You build massive super laboratories in the jungle. Your distribution networks stretch deeply into the United States, across Europe, and into Asia. Billions of dollars flow through the machine you built. The DEA publicly calls CJNG the fastest-growing and most dangerous criminal organization on the planet. And at the absolute center of this web is you. Part 6. The vacuum. But unlike the narcos of the past, you don't seek the spotlight. You don't do interviews. You don't flash gold guns or buy solid gold sports cars. You understand what the others didn't. Visibility creates vulnerability. So you become completely invisible. You move constantly, sleeping in a different rural camp every night. You speak only through trusted intermediaries. You stay deep inside loyal, mountainous territory where every civilian is an informant for you. You rule entirely through fear. Executions are filmed in high definition and uploaded to the internet. Flayed bodies are hung from public bridges. Messages are carved into flesh. It isn't random, chaotic brutality. It is highly calculated, strategic terror. But the pressure is building. The governments of the world are closing in. The United States slaps that $15 million bounty on your head. CJNG is labeled a foreign terrorist organization. Intelligence sharing intensifies. Satellites watch the mountains. One by one, they pick off your family. Your son is captured and extradited to the US. Your daughter is arrested. Your wife is taken into custody. By the 2020s, you are totally isolated. Rumors spread that your kidneys are failing, that you are tethered to a dialysis machine in the jungle. And then, on that cold morning in February 2026, the state finally kicks your door down into Palpa. They load your bleeding body into that helicopter, and you die in the sky, looking down at the mountains you used to own. The government celebrates. They think cutting off the head of the snake kills the beast. But here is the terrifying reality. Cartels are not pyramids. They are sprawling networks. Removing you doesn't dismantle the structure. It creates a massive, violent power vacuum. With your son in an American prison and your inner circle decimated, there is no clear heir to the throne. Regional commanders will now turn their guns on each other. Alliances will fracture in a bloodbath. Territories will be violently contested. Mexico has seen this pattern before. When the king falls, the aftermath isn't peace. It's total, unhinged fragmentation. And fragmentation kills thousands. But step back. Look at the whole picture. Before the bounty. Before the helicopter crash. Before the billions of dollars. There was just a kid in Michoacán standing in a dirt field. A kid who dropped out in 5th grade. A young immigrant hiding his face in California. A brother taking a prison sentence. A deported man with absolutely no legal future. From that desperation, you built modern history's most powerful criminal empire. Not because you were born a mastermind, but because the crushing poverty and systemic corruption around you rewarded brutality, loyalty, and ruthless organization. Poverty didn't die on that helicopter with you. Corruption didn't die on that helicopter. The global, insatiable demand for drugs didn't die either. The machine that created you is still running at full speed. The name of the cartel will change. The leadership will shift. The structure will adapt. But somewhere in Tierra Caliente right now, there's another 14-year-old kid standing in a field, looking at a life with absolutely zero options. The game hasn't changed. It just lost a player. El Mencho is gone. But the nightmare he built is just getting started.